There's been a lot of discussion around Frieren's demons. Depending on who you ask, they're either a refreshing take on an old concept, or indicative of lazy storytelling. At the far end of the spectrum, they might even hint at Frieren's possible fascist tendencies. I don't particularly want to litigate every talking point, but as someone who has gone back and forth on how effective Frieren's demons are as a narrative device, I want to take a step back and look at what role demons actually serve in Beyond Journey's End, and why the show presents them the way that it does. At the end of the day, I think they reinforce the show's fixation on the past, while posing an interesting moral question. What does it actually mean to be evil? First, we can glean a lot of information from how demons came to be, and this information is yet another example of the show taking advantage of its unique premise. To Fern, Stark, and other humans of this age, demons are these humanoid things with some semblance of a society. They just happen to be adversarial, but in the same way warring nations or opposing groups of humans might be adversarial, whether that be in pursuit of land, power, or otherwise. Frieren knows different. She traces back through their genetic lineage to a common ancestor, a monster luring humans in through vocal mimicry. Everything they do is push through the sieve of understanding. Part of the problem is simply how our eyes deceive us. Over time, demons have evolved to act and look more human. In Aura's case, even pretty cute. But while humans of this time are led astray, Frieren's life as an elf has given her the learned experience not to be fooled. Consider a coin toss. Theoretically, the odds of landing heads or tails are 50-50, but anyone who's flipped a coin enough times knows that short streaks can be misleading. You might get 10 heads in a row before things even out. Here, Frieren has seen enough heads, her own race torn apart enough times, that the few tails don't matter. She has the whole sample size. What I also find interesting is actually how similar you could consider demons and Frieren herself. I mean, the whole concept of the show is the adventures of a long-lived being and how time shapes their perspective. So why couldn't the show have starred, say, Aura? The answer is that demons aren't as smart as they seem. They display intelligence in narrow, instrumental ways, planning, deception, mimicry, but they lack the capability to meaningfully learn from experience. I think of them less as rational beings and more like organisms running on sophisticated evolutionary autopilot. They can execute complex behaviors without true understanding, the same way a spider weaves intricate webs without comprehending architecture. We know that demons are a natural evolution of a very simple monster. There's a misconception around evolution that it somehow designs the perfect organism for any given environment. In reality, evolution rewards good enough. Just like how parrots can't actually understand what they're saying, or how some bugs just so happen to look like predators, a demon's so-called intelligence is really just a front put forth by natural selection. They have one core adaptation: be human-like enough to get close to prey. To ascribe complicated emotions or cunning strategy would be falling for the trap of anthropomorphizing. We can see hints of this throughout the series. A demon who is clearly outmatched attacks Frieren anyway, with no clue that it would be a futile effort. Their quote-unquote society is predicated on simple power scaling mechanics the average Dragon Ball fan would scoff at. What ends up being the crux of the confrontation with Aura is incredibly simple deception. But you know, this is what Frieren is all about. Demons can only focus on the here and now. Am I strong? Are they weak? Can I fight? Should I lie? Frieren instead has context. She can learn, she can grow, she can win. Which brings us to the central question. If demons aren't actually intelligent in any meaningful sense, and operate more like sophisticated instinct machines, are they evil? Surely they must be. Their entire existence boils down to hurt others. But evil typically implies choice, agency, the capability for change. Hurricanes kill thousands of people each year, but we don't call them evil. The flu kills hundreds of thousands, yet we don't hold it morally accountable because it can't just stop being the flu. Demons complicate this. They can speak. They can negotiate. They can seemingly understand cause and effect. Except as far as we've seen, demons don't actually learn or grow. They operate less like people and more like natural forces, destructive, relentless, and fundamentally indifferent. Their tendency towards deceit and hostility isn't a choice so much as an expression of what they are. So here's where I land. Demons in Frieren exist in a moral gray zone that anime hasn't really explored. They're dangerous not because they chose evil, but because their nature is incompatible with human survival. So honestly, I find it hard to declare them evil. For me, it'd be like calling poison ivy evil, or polar bears. And despite Frieren having this reputation for being a demon racist, she doesn't go out of her way to oppress or subjugate them. They mean as much to her as a landslide or a tornado, a natural threat to be dealt with efficiently. Don't get me wrong, Frieren's demons aren't some masterstroke of writing. Once their core idea is established, they can feel repetitive, even dull. But I'm thankful that the show is at least trying something different. Every other shonen's demons are some commentary on the human condition, a failure of the system, if only someone cared earlier. It's nice to have an entirely different take that almost goes in the opposite direction. An antagonist entirely alien and fundamentally unrelatable. More than that, rather than being simply different for different's sake, Frieren Beyond Journey's End is able to use them to provide more depth and further its themes. Frieren's warning is a simple one. Things are not always as they seem. Be wary of humanizing that which is not human. Treating demons as people isn't compassion, it's a failure to understand history. And in a show about how time shapes perspective, about how the long view reveals patterns invisible to those living in the moment, demons serve as a perfect test case. They're mimics, just shaped more charismatically. Thanks for watching. Frieren's demons are somewhat controversial, and I don't deny that they might be for some a knock on an otherwise excellent show. But I wanted to give some benefit of the doubt and explore their pros in spite of their cons. Despite the criticism, I think you have to credit them for at least creating interesting discourse. If they're evil, what is evil? Is Frieren fascist? These are, at least to me, fun questions. If you liked the video, please click the like button and subscribe for more content. If you want to support me further, you can donate to my Patreon. Special thanks to Talon BL, Donghua Stuck, Rufku, Infinite Teak, Matt Wistful, Sandwich Venger, Jose Pena, Lol Bunnies, and William Tung for their support. And of course, if anything I said was wrong, I'm sorry. I must have stuttered.